Messi, a name that has transcended mere sporting achievement to become a synonym for excellence itself. Once a medical deficiency requiring growth hormones, his very weakness became his strength. La Pulga, the flea, a nickname that transformed from potential mockery into reverence. How often does diminutive size become devastating power? His statistics read like magical realism: over 800 goals, 7 Ballon d'Or awards, 1 World Cup. Yet numbers feel inadequate, like trying to explain a sunset through its wavelengths. He doesn't just play football, he rewrites its physical laws. Defenders become mere theoretical concepts, their positions reduced to hopeful suggestions rather than actual obstacles. In Argentina, he completed the impossible transformation, from being compared to Maradona to becoming his own point of comparison. The 2022 World Cup wasn't just a trophy, it was the final transmutation of a mortal into myth. What makes Messi extraordinary isn't just what he does, but how routine he makes the extraordinary seem. It's as if Einstein casually explained relativity while doing card tricks. His dribbling isn't mere ball control, it's a rejection of Newtonian physics. The ball doesn't stick to his foot, it enters into a quantum entanglement with his consciousness. Defenders aren't just beaten, they're forced to question their understanding of space-time. He doesn't just read the game, he reads its potential futures. Like a chess grandmaster seeing 20 moves ahead, except he's doing it while running at full speed, with 11 opponents trying to stop him and millions watching. It's precognition disguised as sport. His goal-scoring records aren't just statistics, they're arguments against probability. He scores goals that shouldn't exist, finds angles that geometry insists aren't there, and makes passes that seem to bend space-time itself. Watch a Barcelona game from his era. His teammates don't just pass to him, they pass to where they believe a deity might appear. It's not strategy, it's faith in physical form. His mere presence on a pitch alters reality. Defenders play differently, spaces open differently, time flows differently. He's football's Heisenberg principle. The mere act of observing him changes the game's behavior. Meditation on Messi touches on something profound: the intersection of determinism and free will in football. His play is simultaneously utterly predictable. We know he will create magic, and completely unpredictable. We can never anticipate how. What I've described isn't just skill, it's a fundamental reimagining of possibility. When Messi receives the ball, he exists in a superposition of all potential moves simultaneously. Defenders don't just face a player, they face probability itself. The ball at his feet exists in multiple states until the moment of observation collapses these possibilities into one perfect reality. Observation about his precognition touches on something deeper. Messi doesn't just see the future, he creates it. He operates in what philosophers might call tactical eternalism, past, present, and future existing simultaneously in his decision-making. Each touch of the ball isn't just a response to the present, but a conversation with future moments that haven't yet materialized. The quantum entanglement mentioned with the ball isn't metaphorical. It's perhaps the only way to explain how he maintains control at speeds that should make precision impossible. He's not working against physics. He's operating on a higher order of physical laws we don't yet understand. Point about teammates passing to where they believe a deity might appear reveals something profound about faith and football. Messi has created what we might call a collective tactical consciousness. His teammates don't just believe in where he might be, they believe in possibilities that only exist because he exists. The transformation mentioned, from mortal to myth, represents a kind of philosophical opinion. The 2022 World Cup wasn't just a sporting achievement. It was the moment when empirical reality yielded to something more profound. It was proof that sometimes the rational explanation is less true than the mythological one. The conception through abstract symbolism, the quantum probability clouds of his movement patterns, the sacred geometry of his perfect form, and the radiating lines of his influence on the game's consciousness. Messi doesn't just move through space, he warps it. What appears to be a closed angle to others becomes an open pathway in his perception. He operates in what we might call Meshian geometry, where the shortest distance between 2 points isn't a straight line, but rather a series of impossible curves that only he can see. His ball control defies classical physics because it operates on quantum principles. The ball doesn't just move past defenders. It appears to tunnel through probability spaces. Where others see solid defensive walls, Messi perceives quantum tunnels of possibility. In crucial moments, Messi appears to experience time differently. What we witness as split-second decisions are, in his experienced reality, expanded moments of contemplation. This isn't just quick thinking, it's a fundamental alteration of temporal experience. Messi performs what phenomenologists would call a reduction of football reality. He brackets out the noise, pressure, and expectations, reducing the game to its pure essentials: space, movement, and possibility. This allows him to perceive opportunities that exist below the surface of conventional reality. His body doesn't follow his mind's instructions. Body and mind exist in a state of perfect unity. This transcends traditional notions of muscle memory, entering the realm of what philosophers might call embodied wisdom. The ball becomes an extension not just of his body, but of his consciousness itself. Messi's awareness extends beyond individual consciousness into what Husserl would call intersubjectivity, a shared consciousness with teammates. This explains how he can make passes that anticipate not just where players are, but where they will realize they should be. Every defensive formation contains within it its own negation, the spaces that will open up when defenders commit. Messi reads not just the present space, but this dialectical process of spatial transformation. He sees how each defensive movement creates the conditions for its own undoing. This goes beyond mere tactical genius. It's a complete reimagining of what's possible within the confines of a football pitch. Messi doesn't just play football. He operates on a higher order of football reality, where conventional limitations of space, time, and possibility cease to apply. Messi doesn't just create a connection with individual teammates. He establishes what we might call a neural network of anticipation. His presence activates a field of collective intelligence where teammates begin to perceive possibilities they wouldn't otherwise see. Like quantum entanglement, once a player has experienced this connection with Messi, their understanding of space and possibility is permanently altered. When Messi receives the ball, teammates don't just move, they resonate with his intentions. It's as if he creates a harmonic frequency that other players naturally attune to. This explains why teammates often arrive at spaces before Messi has even indicated his intention to pass. They're responding to a deeper layer of football reality. Teams that play with Messi develop what we might call a spatial muscle memory. Spaces that seemed impossible to exploit become natural channels of possibility. This collective learning creates a shared spatial intelligence that persists even when Messi isn't on the ball. His presence on a pitch creates what physicists might call a field distortion. Defensive structures that are stable against normal attacks become fluid and permeable in his presence. It's not just that he finds spaces. He actively warps the defensive geometry to create new spatial possibilities. Traditional football movement follows relatively predictable vectors. Messi introduces nonlinear dynamics into the game. His movements create cascade effects where small inputs, a slight shift in position, produce disproportionate outputs, entire defensive systems unraveling. Defenders against Messi find themselves trapped in a geometric paradox. They must simultaneously defend the space he occupies and the multiple spaces he might potentially occupy. This creates what we might call defensive uncertainty principles. The more precisely they defend his current position, the more vulnerable they become to his potential movements. These two aspects, collective intelligence and geometric manipulation, aren't separate phenomena, but rather two manifestations of the same underlying reality. Messi's genius lies in his ability to merge them. The space he creates through geometric manipulation becomes intelligible to teammates through the collective consciousness he generates. The collective intelligence of a team allows them to exploit the geometric distortions he creates, leading to what appears to be impossibly synchronized movement patterns. This creates a feedback loop where collective understanding generates new spatial possibilities, which in turn enhance collective understanding. Consider the arc of mythology, the hero who becomes a symbol, who then transcends symbolism to become a truth. That's Messi. In becoming larger than football, he revealed football's deepest essence. His weakness, the growth hormone deficiency, wasn't just overcome. It was alchemically transformed into his defining strength, teaching us that limitations aren't endpoints, but launching pads. The 2022 World Cup wasn't just a crowning achievement. It was a completion of a mythological cycle. Like all great myths, it taught us something profound. That perfection isn't about flawlessness, but about turning mortal constraints into divine expressions. Messi isn't just a footballer who mastered the game. He's a philosopher who never needed words. He showed us that the highest form of knowledge isn't intellectual, but embodied. A truth known not in the mind, but in the feet, in the balance, in the perfect weight of a pass that bends both space and time. In the end, perhaps that's Messi's greatest gift to us. Not just the goals, the dribbles, or even the World Cup, but a living demonstration that the impossible isn't a wall, but a door. And sometimes if we're skillful enough, brave enough, and true enough to our own nature, we can walk right through it. After all, that's what La Pulga did. The small boy from Rosario who didn't just reach the stars, but became one, showing us that sometimes the greatest magic isn't in defying gravity, but in dancing with it. In an era of industrial football, where players are athletes first and artists second, he remains stubbornly, brilliantly playful. Every touch a reminder that football isn't just sport, it's play in its purest form. We've run out of superlatives for him, so we've started inventing new ones. Messianic, extramestrial, immessiable. The language itself has to evolve to accommodate his excellence. The more time passes, the more impossible his achievements seem. Most legends grow simpler with time. Messi's grows more complex. Each new generation of players makes his dominance more remarkable, not less. He's become more than a player. He's a living metaphor for excellence itself. When we say someone is the Messi of their field, we're not just making a comparison. We're invoking a universal standard of greatness.